Sasha! It's good to see you, man.
It's you again.
I don't know.
Wow.
I can't seem to leave this place.
It just comes each other time, like
Each other time.
maybe each Saturday. Listen, today I see the subject for conversation, and it says self-destruction of the United States of America in its economy.
That sounds about right. But the question is, have we accomplished that, or are we in the process of accomplishing that?
That's the interesting question. So, just set the stage. Like, what's going on? Like, what do you think is?
Well, basically, we have an interesting administration.
That's given.
Yeah, and so based on a level of incompetence that's never been realized in the past.
So, from the 0 to 10, like, is it like 20?
In terms of what they can do or what they will do, in terms of what they can do, 2.
What about they don't know what they're doing? Like,
That's perfectly clear.
Okay.
You know,
so, is America is isolating itself
professionally.
professionally? So isolating from the countries around the world. So give us some ideas. What do you think
Well,
about
they're
that?
not only isolating us from the countries around the world, but they're isolating themselves from our own population.
So first, not themselves but ourselves, right? So we kind of a part of that ship.
Yeah.
So let's talk about from how do we isolate ourselves from the rest of the world. Let's talk, like for example, about the tariffs. Is the tariffs the vehicle to unite the nations around the world, or differently?
No, that's the catalyst. That's the catalyst to isolate us from the rest of the world, especially the free world. In terms of the various autocracies around the world, it's the dream, and Trump and company and Vance are accomplishing that dream. How do they do it? By making sure the administration is made up of some of the most incompetent people in history.
We will get to it. The point is in the tariffs, and the tariffs are the tax on ourselves and the countries around the world. So what we are doing by tariffing like the goods and services from outside, we put in extra expense to get them in. Does the China as a country, does it care about the tariffs?
Less than us, because China has total population control. We don't.
In a different way, China is a country which has more than 51% of ownership usually, and Tesla is the only one company which is an exception, and Musk controls the Tesla controls the total ownership of the company in China. This is the only company. But China less dependent on tariffs, because if we put the tariff on auto industry, China will lower the price on the auto and increase the price on the paper, on the glasses and everything what you can see around yourself. So they don't care. What's going to happen, we will pay more taxes on the goods and services. So doing the tariffs, we are saying basically, we don't want your product in our country. We are making it problematic to sell your product in our country, thinking that we're going to build the product we're importing ourselves. Do we have the capability of doing like all the stuff that China does and imports us at the discount to our product?
Maybe after a period of 3 to 5 years, but certainly not immediately. Which means if you can't do it immediately, you cannot compete with China.
And you cannot. You need to substitute their product. But you say 3 to 5 years. Is any plan to build the factory, let's say, to produce faucets for sinks and like plumbing material?
Who wants to work in those factories?
It's different.
That's
so
a serious,
the point is
serious problem in this country.
We don't
because
have.
we don't.
potentially people will work, but you have to educate them, you have to teach them, you have to build the factory itself, and then getting the illegal immigrants out of the country instead of thinking how to actually make them work for us and not push them away, people who want to work. So basically with tariffs, we're just telling people we don't want to do business, the other countries, we don't want to do business with you, and we want to buy your product if we want to buy extremely expensive.
If we had power over the other countries, especially on the electronic side of it, if we can provide the chips, if we can provide the memory, if we can provide all the thinking parts of the products that are being made, yes, then we have a certain amount of leverage and control. But since most of these products are also made in China or made in Taiwan or made in other countries, so the only thing we're going to do is cut ourselves out of the business chain.
Exactly. The point is that tariffs are imposed on the goods and services. So if we're just imposing the tariffs on the auto industry, there are parts which are purchased and built in different countries. So it's increasing the cost of your vehicle which you want to purchase. So it's like it could be a good idea of increasing tariffs on a certain industry, certain product. And the way to do it is just, let me think about that.
Here's what I would say. Let's say you're building a car.
Yeah.
Okay. You have the car, it's built in the United States, but the memories in the car are coming from China. Then you have to import that car.
And pay the
You
tariffs.
have to pay the tariff. Then you have to send it, let's say, to Canada to have the steering wheel put in. Then you have to re-import the car again a tariff. So how many times can you pay a tariff on the same vehicle, because most of the parts are made in different places in the world?
It's unbelievable. So basically tariffs will not work, and this is isolating us from the rest of the world. And European Union, if people would know, was created, I think, in 1996 or something. I might be wrong, but it was exactly for the reason that European country didn't want to pay tariffs on the goods which would come from a different country in Europe. So they eliminate the tariffs, and that was the main reason for European Union.
And there were also problems there also. The problems is that, if you had to build a car, or if you had to build a product in Belgium or in Germany or in France, it was expensive to do. So you would have the various things built in Spain or in Greece or in places where labor was much cheaper, and there became all the problems within the European Union itself. What is fair?
Yeah. So another part, like how we isolating ourselves, it's NATO. So there is a war in Ukraine, and what we are saying to the rest of the democratic part of the world, we are saying we don't want to support democracy. We just want you you guys do it yourself. We're just stingy on $20 to $100 billion a year, which maybe 2 years of $50 billion extra right now would just kill that war by itself, because Ukraine is right now doing well. They have a great army. They need just our support, and then we would just destroy their counterparts in face of Russia and China. But we are not supporting Ukraine. We are just saying to European countries, just do it yourself, and we don't want to be a part of democratic world. What do you say?
The other problem is that Ukraine, for the most part, has a well-educated population.
Yes.
They're able to create their own weapons, which are better than a lot of the weapons that are made in other parts of the world.
Not better, but some. There are some
the
they built in right now.
Drone technology is great.
We have to learn, because the war has changed, and we will talk about the war in Ukraine differently, because I'm an expert in this. But I don't want to talk Ukraine is a great country, corrupt also. We have to also acknowledge that. But the point is, we need to support the democratic world, the part of the world which is trying to be democracy. And we are just
right now, because of Trump and Vance and so many of the people in the cabinet, we're headed to a country that's going to be an autocracy, which is what Trump wants. Trump is very, very, very enamored by all the autocratic countries. And he would like to be the same thing. He doesn't want to be president.
And
he wants to be king, and he doesn't want to have to do very much work, unless it's on the golf course.
which it is right now. Okay, so we talked about that. What about agencies? Like there are many talks about cutting the spending on investing in the different countries, like providing help different countries. Talk about that.
It's stupid.
Why?
It's stupid because it's just like anything else. If you make a product,
Okay.
what do you want to advertise that product
Yes.
in various places in the world so people will trust you and buy from you.
Plus, to know where's the happy people
Yeah.
live.
Now, if you make products and you send these things to help other countries, may not be in the European Union, might be in Africa, might be in Southeast Asia and other places, but this is all great publicity for our country. If you cut that off, then these countries not only don't want to do any more business with you, they don't trust you, and now you've created more enemies instead.
Yeah, but there are like investment in different countries to do the surgery for transgender surgeries.
It's such a minority.
I understand, but people are focusing on that minority spending, not understanding that it's a publicity. It's showing the propaganda of our way of living and generosity of our country, how good we are. And we don't need to cut the spending. We need to explain why are we spending that money. If we give the money for hungry people in Africa or in Ukraine or other, we need to explain, listen, we are giving it not for the reason of some bad reasons, but to show that this is our generosity and the goodwill.
But this generosity and this spending was already approved by Congress.
Yes.
The money was already paid to send these products to various countries, and it's Trump in his
cabinet
and his cabinet in this deranged fantasy that they can save 2 pennies. You can't save these 2 pennies. The money was already spent. You should deliver the products that you promised.
Yes and no. I mean, the point is that we need to make sure that we're not overspending with all the programs. Because right now, there is a $7 trillion of expenditure a year, and the administration, Trump or not, they have to be concerned about spending. So there should be a good idea to see our spending and make sure they are worth.
The general understanding is that all of this spending that he's cutting is less than 2% of the entire worth of the United States. It's unimportant. You know, when you figure, not to use this as an example, if Trump would not fly to Mar-a-Lago every single week, that would already save between $1 and $1.5 million a week. In the first administration, he spent $150 million going to play golf.
Okay, so we
cut that out.
So we are isolating ourselves, but not showing how good United States of America is around the world. While Russians bring their investments in Africa, because I just recently heard the conversation about Russian operatives are putting money in propaganda in African countries, showing that Russia is a good country and stuff like that. So we are losing war on propaganda, and again we isolating ourselves because people in different countries, they don't understand what we are doing anymore.
How much of that war are we actually losing, and how much of that war is Trump and company just giving to the Russia as a gift?
it's just so much. So like, but right now, like, the point is, it just like there are two different like there are many, but two major advertisement. One is like in incentive, like you give people discount, and you say like, hey, you go buy this product, you will get like 5% discount. The other advertisement is image advertisement, and we need to be as a country who advertise its image, who we are. Let's move on.
There's so many things that we really want to discuss, and we only have, what, 15, 20 minutes or 30 minutes to get this all in.
Okay.
So this will probably be at least two videos we're going to make.
So what about dismantling all the agencies like for medical purposes, and that affect the rest of the world, and people from the rest of the world looking inside of United States thinking like, what is going on? Like that R.F. Kennedy and his ideas about vaccination.
It's pathetic to have to even find it necessary to discuss this. The polio
Please discuss it anyways.
Polio was literally eliminated from society for 20 years, and RFK is making sure that it becomes a major illness in the future.
Explain why.
From sheer stupidity. The vaccine works, and he's against the vaccine. He says, no, take vitamin A. So you take vitamin A, not only will you get polio, but you'll also destroy your liver. But this is going to go on. It's insanity to have this person in any semblance of leadership in the health industry.
So,
he's not qualified.
So today, right now, the polio disease is 0.1% of the population. I think that's the statistics. So if we just stop vaccinating people, that will be like a COVID. It could just
well there are
right?
there are some places like in Texas where whole communities don't do vaccinations. Why? Because
religion.
RFK told them you shouldn't do that. That the vaccinations don't work. Of course, the vaccinations don't work. That's why polio was eradicated 20 years ago, and now it's back. Oh, I understand from today that there's already 600 active cases in Texas and the southern United States, and nothing's being done about it.
And we are talking about isolation from the world. So world is looking inside of United States and thinking like, these guys are going nuts.
A very dear friend of mine, very famous violinist, Itzhak Perlman, who's maybe the greatest or certainly one of the top 10 violinists in the world, as a soloist, as a musician, as a conductor, and he had polio when he was young, and they had the vaccine. He could have gotten it, but his family was told not to do it, and so he wound up with polio.
Let's move on.
Yeah, but so I'm very aware of what can happen if you get polio. It's very, very bad.
So vaccines are working, especially those like which were tested. But the point of the subject right now, like we are trying like to show people that there is a crisis going on, and we are not just like we are just isolating ourselves from the rest of the world.
Yeah, don't forget, even with COVID, you have to realize the world lost 18 million people because of COVID.
Okay, so
and we lost. I think it was over 1 million people in this country because of COVID, and there was a vaccine, but getting the vaccine to the population was a disaster.
Jeffrey, it's questionable so much. Like the point right now, like I'm trying to stay focused, and people also stop. Some countries saying like stop going to United States for vacation or for education. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, of course. I still have a T-shirt that I bought in Mexico, where this was during COVID, and it says on the T-shirt, "Now you're on the good side of the border."
Okay, got it. All right. So there are problems which America is isolating itself from the rest of the world. What about America destroying itself right now from inside?
First of all, arresting people in the style of the Gestapo in Germany, where masked people without identification with guns are going into universities, going into business and things like that, and just taking people off the streets. And first thing they do is they send them out of state, so they have no way of contacting a lawyer and trying to defend themselves. That's never been done. It should never been done. Even if the people are bad. In this country, we have something called due process. Without due process, we are the same as a communist country.
Can I push back a little bit?
Yeah.
You see what, like to me, like if I come to you and say, like, Jeffrey, show me your ID or show me your documents that you're legally in a country. So if you're not legally in a country, what kind of due process do I need, like, to tell you, hey, can you just like follow us and we will put you in a bus and out of the country?
Yes, you can do that, but I have a right to say, show me your badge.
I will show you my badge.
Yeah, but these people do not.
Yeah, but
That is everything. This country is not supposed to be able to do that.
Jeffrey,
they're supposed to get an arrest warrant, or they at least have to identify themselves as an official police officer in the country.
So if they will have that ID on themselves, they can do it, right?
Then they can exercise their authority.
Okay, so let's
Not
do
before.
it. But let's do that.
Right,
but where's the due process? They're illegally here.
Yeah, but the due process is that you've shown them your badge. Now you can take them and you can arrest them. And then once you arrest them, they should have the right to call a lawyer. And that's how every criminal works. Every criminal prosecution works. You can call a lawyer, or the court will give you a lawyer. But you have a right for due process. That's what it is. Right now,
they're not citizens of this country. So
you don't know that until you've investigated them.
Right, you just show like, are you a citizen? If the person says no, if he says yes, he's lying to the authorities. But if he's illegally here, he doesn't have any rights, constitutional rights.
I don't agree.
He broke.
No,
He broke all that rights.
Yes, no, but in this country, every person in the United States has constitutional rights, whether you're here legally or illegally. You still have to be presented that you have a right. You have a right not to incriminate yourself. You have a right not to. You have a right to legal representation. And these people are being moved, and in this case,
they moved themselves like in the country.
That's true, but for what? But
illegally.
Some of them.
No, most of like people who are being deported, they don't have papers. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's complicated.
It's complicated. So, like, guys, like per Jeffrey, if you arrest illegal immigrant, show your badge, and now you can put the person in a bus and deport them.
But you could detain them in jail.
I say like just deport them and that's it. but honestly, if they are like criminals and you know that, but deport them. But if they're just working here, read my book. Where's my book? Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, but while Sasha's looking, the other thing is that while you're arresting people who in some cases are in universities going for their PhD or their master's degree or their bachelor's degree, and they accidentally or maybe on purpose attended a demonstration or something like that, which they are allowed to do. That's called freedom of speech. You can't deport a person in the middle of the night and then send them not to their own country, but send them to a paid prison system like in El Salvador, which is totally criminal.
Okay, so don't listen to
that's
Jeffrey. Don't listen to him.
Same as sending them to Auschwitz. It's terrible.
If you don't have legal papers, you have no right to participate in any demonstration. You have no right to be here. So, but in my book, you can read about illegal immigration and how to resolve it with a good faith, and it's just so much. You don't do it like criminally as right now administration, but people illegally came here should be either like. Go ahead.
Okay, now that's pretty clear. Everybody, read the book, read the suggestions, contact us, let us know what you think. The most important thing is to have very, very well-educated, intelligent people designing the system so it works for everybody. And there's a good way to design it and a bad way to design it.
Okay, so let's move on by what we like, by our format. So first, we said like how we destroy from inside. So those like arrest and stuff like that, it just they're done not in a legal way. That's why it's controversial and it's just destroying our country because we don't understand how like it should be in order. It should be people should be know what is going on.
And the people who should have the right to destroy our country must first be elected, not Elon Musk. He's not elected, and he's acting with more power than the President of the United States. And that's terrible.
That's terrible. It goes to show that Congress, who is supposed to govern, gives up that power to executive branch, and which is Donald Trump. Talk about that.
Well, right now, Donald Trump is trying to usurp the powers of Congress. That's terrible, because that means Congress no longer has the power of the purse. The Senate has no power to...
They do, but they let it go.
Well, that's what usurp means.
Yes.
But that's the problem with Trump. Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care what he does legally and he doesn't care what he does illegally. He doesn't care what he says. He doesn't care whether he lies.
And good for Trump. So the point is,
but that unfortunately gives him power over Congress. What's the power? If anybody in Congress looks at him slightly the wrong way, he says you will be primary and you will be out of office. So what I'm telling everybody here and telling everybody watching this podcast, get together. Go to all the demonstrations and things like that. Go to wherever you can make your voice heard and say that they don't have to worry about Donald Trump primarying you. We, the population, will make sure you get primaried and somebody good to take your place.
And I would just say differently, because if you go and start like screaming and it has no value, it's just you part of destruction. Because what we need to do, like first we need to understand, and we will come to like let's talk about what to do later. I want to talk about that the Congress let go the power, and they are afraid to be not elected next time, and Trump brings the popularity to each Congress person and the power to be re-elected. So the Congress, GOP leaders, they just
the
Republicans, the GOP. So they all like sucking up to Trump, and it's so bad. So the Congress is giving up its power. But what I want to also talk about, that Trump is dismantling the government. And once you talk to me about Peter's principle.
Let me go through that. There was a book written when I was a student. So this is a few months ago.
Yes, a couple of months.
When I was, as I said in the last podcast, I was a musician in the White House for 4 years, 3 years of Nixon, 1 year of Ford. But most important, that was the time when the Peter Principle was published. What is the Peter Principle? That one rises in any kind of bureaucracy or any kind of organization until he reaches his level of incompetence. But Trump has figured out a way to break that rule. He started at his level of incompetence, and now he's hiring all kinds of people that are less competent than he is. Think of the results, what that's going to be. Then you can hire people like you could try to get people like RFK in there. You can get people like Tulsi Gabbard in there. Why? Because you control the threat over the Congress and the Senate. And as long as you can threaten the congressmen and the Senate men and the senators with no possibility of re-election, then they will do anything you ask.
Jeffrey, but we are talking about the cabinet itself. We're talking about the people in power of each department of executive branch, and these guys, as you said, Peter's principle. It's not just like incompetency. It's like when Trump talked to American people and he says smart things. People who are close to Trump, they in in his background, there's so not stupid, but less competent as Trump. So Trump looks like as the smartest guy in the room every time he's in the room. So, is it?
And nobody contradicts it. There are a lot of rules to be good at the Peter principle. First of all, you hire people that are less competent than you. You make sure you sit behind the biggest desk you can find. That's actually in the book. And that you have to, it's total cinema. But the difference is that the Congress now doesn't realize that they have the power to fix everything, and they won't do it.
We talked about that. So like right now, what we are doing, like as a country, destroying. We talked about destroying from outside. Now we're talking the destruction from inside, and we've talked about the Congress giving power. We talked about the departments of executive branch are being selected as less competent as Trump, and his competency level is.
And the other great problem is that Elon Musk is not just eliminating people who are secretaries in these organizations, he's eliminating the administration of these departments. And these are actually incredibly competent people, much more competent than the President of the United States. They're being eliminated, and there's no way to repair this.
So basically, this is another point.
We depend on the courts, which so far are doing a pretty good job. But when you're constantly making executive orders, new ones, every day, 1, 2, 3 new executive orders, they're flooding the courts with this stuff. And there's only so many judges to go around, and they can only vote against so many of these things, in a short period of time.
So what you wanted to talk about, that firing people, government employees. And it's not a good idea to fire government employees. And I heard the interview of Elon Musk saying that, hey, but we just fired only 1.5% of the government employees. And Jeffrey said what?
They fired the 1.5% of the highest level of the government employees. That's much worse. That's much worse than firing 20,000 people of the worst part of these administrations.
You can fire one person and dismantle the whole department, and they dismantled the Department of Education. How can we unify the programs, educational programs around the states, if we don't have Department of Education? And that goes for each department. So right now, every time Trump gives the executive order, it's being challenged in courts. It's not about good or bad. It's just there is a fight inside of the country for no reason, and that's why we're destroying our country from inside.
Yeah, it's one thing after another. Every day is another nightmare. That's the scary part, is that every day he comes up with some other insane idea, or he puts all his weight against one agency or another agency. You've got somebody like Elon Musk who's totally out of control. Nobody controls Elon Musk. Nobody. How is that even possible,
Jeffrey,
in a democracy?
The point is this: it's undemocratic what he's doing, Elon Musk. But the point is this: that's the whole point. That nobody controls anything. The Congress is letting it go. Branches of a government branches not doing anything. They just Bundy, what is she, Department of?
Yeah, she's Attorney General. That's the Attorney General. If you read what the position is, she's supposed to represent the Department of Justice,
the law,
and the Constitution. And she represents only Donald Trump. She doesn't care about the Constitution. She doesn't care about whether something's legal or not. If somebody goes against Trump, she wants that person fired, which means judges have to be impeached or thrown out. You cannot do that. These are lifetime positions in many cases.
So that's what's the point. That if we're going out of the rails, we need somebody to put our train back in the rails. but there is nobody in Trump administration who say like, hey, wait a minute, let's do right things. Maybe let's have some plan. Which another topic of like, so do we have any plan of what we are doing with the tariffs, going out of NATO, firing government employees? Is any plan for what is going on? Like, did you read any plan?
In my personal idea, I believe that Trump and company are just basically trying to turn the United States into an authoritarian country and be rid of the Constitution altogether.
Potentially, but he's not too smart about that. He's smart to get himself in a position to be called the guy, but he's not too smart to build. He's destroying everything. In my opinion, I look at the things that being destroyed, but there is no plan of the future. There is no plan. Hey, we are putting the tariffs, and the reason is we want to build the factories, let's say auto factories in our country. So is any factory built in our country, like which will have not just the manufacturing, like the end manufacturing of the auto industry, but the parts. There are different logistics and products which come in to be like a part of the vehicle, and it's not being done. Talking just only about auto industry, it's all, but across the board we don't have any plan for the future.
Yeah, there's no infrastructure for this.
No plan. So we're just destroying ourselves without any new position, new vehicle to drive to do it.
The only thing that's apparent is that Trump is trying to come up each day with his new formulation of graft and grift. And how does he do that? Cryptocurrency with his name on it and things like that. So this is a way that he can create a system for people all over the world to send him a bribe. That's what it is. It's nothing more than a bribe. And for all the MAGA people, the original MAGA people who bought these idiotic coins, you know, they were grifted. They bought a coin that started out at $80, which is now worth $12. Where do you think that money went? That money went into Trump's personal pocket and not in this country. So for me, that's grift. He's been doing that his entire life.
And I feel so sorry, like, because I have clients that truly trust in Trump. They bought his media company stock, and stock was $96. Now it's like, I think 20. It went like at one time like to 12, going back and forth. But the company itself has no value. The value may be $2-3, but it doesn't produce any valuable business. But people trust in Trump and they buy stocks and coins, and it just
yeah.
So it's not helping the country. So my point right now is like, is any plan in the books to make America great again? What's the plan for this?
Is there such a thing as making America great again? America has always been great. For the last 8 years, for the last
80 years,
for the last 20 years, that America has been great. Did we make mistakes? Absolutely. Every country makes mistakes. Are we invested in too many military operations around the world? Absolutely. We should cut out half of these things. Do we really need all the military bases that we have around the world? No. That would be much better.
But you can read this book and pay for like make other countries to pay for it. Like I apologize, Jeff. The point, like for example, we have 21 aircraft carriers, like ships, like in our possession. We don't need 21 aircraft carriers. They're like $1 billion per carrier per year to maintain them and have the people like on them. So hey, can we rent it to like countries like in the Middle East or without personnel?
Well, also in today's
make money on this.
In today's day and age, aircraft carriers are basically stupid. An aircraft carrier can be sunk with a drone.
not
It's
drone.
ter-
No.
Well,
It can be no. With the ballistic, it depends.
Ask the Russians how many ships they just had sunk in the Black Sea by Ukraine from drones.
Yeah, but not drones. This is not different drones. Let's not go there. Let's talk about war in Ukraine on a different video.
Okay.
I will explain. It's marine drones. It's totally different. But the point is that we talked about military extra. We could just like, instead of taking out our military from bases from Europe, we can just share the expenses in a good way as a partners, not as like bullies. So basically, we have no plan.
That's the one good thing that Trump wants to do. He wants NATO and all the NATO countries to be sharing the expenses of the military.
But it's in a book like in 2019. I'm talking about that, like, but he's doing it in a bad way. He's pulling out, and we didn't talk about climate change. He, instead of navigating the stuff, he's pulling out of climate change. Instead of doing like education, the Department of Education to manage the states, he pulling out of managing. He's just totally everywhere he's going, he's destroying everything what is in a place, and he's not putting anything instead.
As long as you're mentioning that subject, I think it's only fair to also mention that Sasha's been very active in trying to come up with good concepts for climate change, and the name of that is called?
The Blue Glaciers Rescue Foundation. It's a non-profit, and we can talk about that too. I'm trying like to reach to people, but we need like to rescue right now our country, and this is the last like portion of our like video, like to talk about what should we do. Jeffrey, talk about that.
I believe personally that the best thing we can do initially, that means right now, for the
2 years, like before
before the midterm elections, you have to convince all these people, whether obviously all the Republicans and some Democrats, that if they don't vote to repair what's going on, they will be voted out of office, or as Trump likes to call it, primary. These people have to know that their future in the Republican Party is going to be good only for about 14 months now, and then they're gone. And as long as they know that they're going to be threatened by the public, when there's a demonstration, they should have demonstrations like I remember in the 1960s, like the moratorium against Vietnam on the main ellipse in Washington. I was there. I participated in that. And after that, I was a musician in the White House. But I can tell you, when you get millions of people protesting, not just 50 people there, a couple of thousand people there, when half the country is out there protesting and voting after the protest, that's when everybody in Congress will know that their days are numbered, and that all of a sudden they're going to lose they're going to lose their free retirement. They're going to lose their salaries and everything else, and that which is the only reason they wanted to get elected in many cases in the first place.
But before you go and start like just demonstrate for something, you have to be informed voters. This is like in the chapter in this book, we need more informed people. Before you go and vote for somebody, you need to understand what is going on. So you need to educate yourself. You need to educate on who is the Democrats, who is the Republicans, what they stand for. We need to stop voting blue or red. We need to vote the purple in between. We need to move America forward, not sideways. And people need to understand first what you ask a congressperson or anybody on a local position, what is your plan? And measure that plan on against your ideas and your comfort level. And if you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we need a new generation of very intelligent people to run for election. We do not need any more MAGA morons. I'm not talking about the population. For me, the MAGA morons are the Republicans in Congress and the Republicans in the cabinet of Donald Trump.
And,
these people have to go.
Yeah, but the point is, like, how do you get rid of them if people who put them in place, they've been fooled, and they've been fooled because they're not educated. So educate yourself, because the reason they came to power, it's not because Donald Trump was given something interesting. Most of the people voted against social democrats. They voted against illegal immigration. They voted against the Medicare medical system in a country which is not working.
That's actually not true. They did not vote against the medical system because Trump promised us that nothing would be changed. So everybody assumed that he's telling the truth. We haven't learned yet, after 8 years or 10 years, that most of what Trump says is nonsense. He lies because even when the best thing he could possibly do, that he believes in, is tell the truth, he's unable to tell the truth about anything. That's what a pathological liar is.
But it doesn't matter. The point is that we need to study. Because you're saying pathological liar, who cares? People, that's actually, hold on.
The answer is the voter.
Right, but Trump is saying, like, listen, I will take care of you. I will do everything good by you. Will baby drill, like, and like somehow cheap gasoline will rescue the world. That's why they've been fooled. And to not to be fooled, you have to have a plan. You have to educate yourself, to ask local government people, because there are bright people, but you have to kind of vet them to understand, do they have a plan for us from local government, and it's in the book, to the top. You choose your local government, and that's how you build the country from bottom to the top, not from the top to the bottom.
Right, that's the whole thing. But the first step is to vote most of these people, or at least change the majority in the Senate, change the majority in the Congress, and then at least Trump can be controlled. And as long as Trump has the power of the purse, we're doomed.
And I would say a little bit different, because Trump is bad. There will be other person, and if you're not educated, you don't know what you want. You don't require a person who you're voting for a plan that you're comfortable with. There will be a different Trump. There will be a blue Trump. There will be red Trump, and we will be stuck in that process of rebuilding and destroying our country.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
Let's cut it.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to say goodbye, but there's a lot of things that have to be changed.
And
the
start
first
with
thing,
this book.
First thing are the laws. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll see you very soon. Bye now.
Bye.